What's cracking YouTube? It's your boy Dope back again with another reaction. We got NBA trades that must happen this offseason. If it's some Kristaps Porzingis, Ben Simmons, and they're bad trades, I'm going berserk. I can't lie. I can't stand this, bro. It's hard being a realistic basketball fan that looks at it from a basketball standpoint and not an NBA standpoint. Because basketball comes first when it's NBA related. But NBA fans don't understand that. But let's get into this video. But before we do, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're 5 subs away from 325 subscribers.
The NBA playoffs are still going on right now, but soon they'll be over and the offseason will be here, and it'll be time a lot of teams make a lot of adjustments because we've learned this past season and we're still learning during these playoffs that a lot of changes need to be made. Like the most recent, Ben Simmons has got to get out of Philly. Dude's
No, he doesn't.
To the Hawks, and he was the main reason why. He's got a $170 million contract and averaged 10 points a game. He didn't even go up against any great defenders. He's big and quick, but he's not a star. And I'm not saying he needs to get traded because maybe he'll do better on another team. I just think for Philly's sake, they need to try and convince someone else to make him their problem. Teams to consider here would be the Toronto Raptors and the Portland Trailblazers and maybe even the Chicago Bulls.
But what are you going to get out of that?
Now to the Raptors though. Sign and trade Kyle Lowry and send him and maybe a young asset to the 76ers.
Why would you sign and trade Kyle Lowry, but he's a free agent? Isn't he a free agent this year? And he's from Philly, so wouldn't he? I wouldn't be surprised if Kyle Lowry took a pay cut to go to fucking Philly. He's from Philly, ain't it? So why would they trade Ben Simmons for Kyle Lowry? That's the worst trade I heard of all time, bro.
I was looking out on Kyle anyways, so now they get a good player in return. That would actually
Hell no.
Into the new age group this team's headed for. And for Philly, Lowry's the perfect point guard they would have needed to beat the Hawks. If not,
no, this is
Portland for CJ McCollum. What Portland's doing is never gonna win.
All right, bro. I swear, NBA fans are just using trade machines, bro. No way you're saying this, bro. Ben Simmons for CJ McCollum straight on? He's the, bro. He should have been Defensive Player of the Year. He passes the ball. Yes, he may not, you know what I'm saying, sometimes, but he averaged 16 points a game. So you're giving that away for just some scoring from CJ McCollum when y'all need defense? And this is your best defender on a night in, night out basis? That's a lose situation. That's an L, bro. That's an L.
And same for the 76ers. Both teams need to change things. It would give Philadelphia a go-to scorer at shooting guard, while Seth Curry could transition back to point guard. And for the Blazers, Simmons could play power forward, and they could have a new outlook on their team and some much-needed help.
Nah, that's a bad trade, bro.
Both teams desperately need to do something, and we'll get more into the Trailblazer side of things throughout the video. The other trade, though, would be one to the Bulls for Zach.
This is another dumb trade. Zach LaVine literally just got Nikola Vucevic, who only played 20 fucking games. Why would the Bulls trade Zach LaVine, who averaged 27, when they just traded for another All-Star who averaged 20 plus points in the 20 games that he played with the Bulls, and they literally just got him? They would never do that. Like, and it's not even saying that Ben Simmons' trade value is bad. It's just teams will never do that because they got good players and they're building around their team. I really don't see no real team ever traded for stars. No cap.
Dream scenario for Philly. LaVine's a superstar.
No, fuck, bro. If I'm the Bulls, I'm declining that shit quick as fuck.
One because they just traded away this year's first-round pick to bring in Vucevic. So I don't know if I could see them trading.
I wouldn't do that.
Player for a much younger one.
I'm not doing that.
Any better while Nikola's still on the roster. But in my opinion, they should still do it because they're not going to make the playoffs even if LaVine stays. So it might as well age down while they can. Also, I just finished coming up with Kemba Walker.
That's the dumbest shit I ever heard.
OKC for Al Horford like 5 minutes before it came out that the trade had actually went down. So the prediction didn't make it in for the video, but I still wanted to go over it. It was one that Celtics fans didn't like, but I mean, I get why they did it. Kemba didn't fit, he's not a real star, he's overpaid, and so is Horford, but his contract runs out sooner, so it's okay. I mean, I guess they could have tried to get someone a little better in return for Kemba, but Horford knows Boston's system, and he actually hasn't been terrible for the Thunder. He's still a solid center. I think he'll be a good fit for the Celtics. This was on him, Rick Carlisle. Kristaps Porzingis needs to get traded away from the Dallas Mavericks. I don't know if it was on him, Rick Carlisle, or just the whole team, but he's either just not a star player anymore, or he was one of the most underutilized players in the NBA today.
top 30 points per game scorer, top 15 rebounder in the league. Not a star.
You saw Mavericks.
You heard that first.
Season, you would know that he just didn't.
You heard that first.
At 7 foot.
You heard that first. Porzingis is not a star player. He's a bum. He's a scrub, but he's a top 30 player. It's only 30 NBA players in the NBA that average 20 points or more. Kristaps Porzingis is one of them. Top 15 rebounder. And he's a bum. Get out of here, bro. This shit is fucking ridiculous, bro.
So he's just got to be traded. And there's more scenarios I can find for him.
This shit is hilarious, bro.
Send Kristaps to the Indiana Pacers for TJ Warren and Miles Turner, who's
I'm
been
done
for years anyways, and a draft pick. For Dallas, it gives them a true center and some much-needed defense down low, where Porzingis was supposed to come up big, but never did, and also adds more depth with TJ. For the Pacers, it frees up Domantas Sabonis and gets rid of their spacing issues, while continuing to keep this team young, making this one of the better and more even trades out there that works.
That's not even at all.
I also like a trade exchanging Pascal Siakam for Kristaps, though. We've
That
got a couple
won't
more Siakam
happen.
trades later, but for now, the Toronto Raptors had a terrible season, and what was their worst since 2011. Now, Kyle Lowry's leaving the team, and next year's looking like it's going to be even worse. And it also didn't help that Siakam took a huge step back either. So maybe it's time to trade the 27-year-old for a 25-year-old Porzingis. For Toronto,
That's dumb.
gives them a new opportunity to switch things up with the identity of
That's dumb for the Dallas Mavericks to do, bro.
Last year, so it might just be his time to go anyways. On the other hand, Siakam's a little older to be playing with the 22-year-old Luka.
Bro, this
but
is
he
the
was
dumbest,
second
bro.
option and complement to Kawhi Leonard, so maybe he could be the same for Doncic. Not the perfect scenario, but I thought it was worth a discussion. There were a few other scenarios, but one
I thought these people, all these subscribers that make these videos actually knew what they were talking about. They're literally just doing Twitter talking points with, like, this is nothing basketball related. This is just all like theatric shit. Like, this is ridiculous, bro.
The Portland Trailblazers. I'm a fan of Portland, but this year made it clear that whatever they got going on with their team just isn't it. They need to do something, so maybe trading a deal centered around Robert Covington and Yusuf Nurkic for Kristaps is the way to go. They need to switch things up, and there's still hope that the 7'3" sharpshooter was just in a system that wasn't using him right. And if that's so, the Blazers could get themselves another all-star for a bargain. While Dallas needs a true center and always could use some defense, so both problems are fixed here. And I think we can all agree a Porzingis trade should happen.
It should not happen.
I feel the same way about trading Karl Anthony Towns though, but I think it's 100% past due. He's gone through so many different iterations of this Timberwolves team, and nothing's worked, and they've only gotten worse over time, so he needs to go.
Personal problem.
Trade I've seen recently would be sending him to the New York Knicks.
Never happened.
Valuable draft picks and guys like Mitchell Robinson and RJ Barrett that they could trade if they can get salaries to match. It would give them D'Angelo Russell, Barrett, Edwards, and Robinson in their starting five, as well as picks for the future. While obviously for New York, it would team Towns up with Julius Randle in the front court, which wouldn't be the best defensively, but I'm sure the Knicks are going to be ready to make trades in July. So it's still possible. Now, obviously, nothing needs to be done in Atlanta. What they've been doing is amazing, and their team's stacked, but looking towards the future, they might not be able to keep all these guys when their rookie deals are up, so it might be worth looking into trading some of them for a guy like Towns. Probably not a great choice since Towns isn't great defensively, but I thought it was worth bringing up. Now, clearly, I don't have the perfect scenarios for him, but all I'm saying is there's options out there if Minnesota chooses to do so. I'm sure there's more options for D'Angelo Russell too. I don't really want to get into those. I do want to get a little more into the Trailblazers though, like I mentioned earlier. They're getting close to the point where they might have to trade Damian Lillard. He might start to want out eventually with all this losing, but I think before that happens, they need to at least trade CJ McCollum first and see how that works out. So I came up with a couple scenarios for him. I mentioned the Simmons trade earlier, which I'm still really
that would never happen. It
would be perfect though.
Look at this trade. If I'm the Blazers, I'm never letting this happen. I don't care if you swap this with Dame. I'm not trading Damian Lillard for Ben Simmons, CJ McCollum from Ben Simmons. Bro, you're tripping.
Earlier, which I'm still really
even the Sixers would even take CJ McCollum for fucking Ben Simmons straight on
there in return for Dylan Brooks and Justice Winslow. But I don't think Memphis would really be into this one, seeing how good Brooks has been. It's something Portland should try and pull off though, because they could definitely use his defense next to Lillard, and they need something like this. So if it's not Memphis, look to the Boston Celtics for them to make a trade like this happen, because they could trade CJ in a deal revolving around Marcus Smart, and it could make sense. Boston's already going to have Horford and Jalen Jaylen Brown in the starting
I've seen the Hawks
maybe they
want
wanna trade someone
Marcus
out for some
Smart.
more firepower on offense. And if they did, it could really work for both sides. Then I don't see this one as likely. It wouldn't be the best for the Toronto Raptors. For the Trailblazers, it'd be the best case scenario to send CJ to the Raptors and get Pascal Siakam in return. His offense, defense, and ability as a second option is something that would make him thrive in a role next to Dame. But I see Toronto headed for more of a rebuild, so I don't know that I can see them trading Pascal for a nearly 30-year-old player. But speaking of him, I came up with a couple more trades for him that the Raptors might want to look at. There's two scenarios that came in mind, with the first being to send him to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Ricky Rubio, Jared Culver, and 2 of their first-round picks that'll be pretty high up.
I don't see the Raptors ever doing that,
bro. A young player with potential, and also a point guard to fill in Lowry's spot until they find a better option. And of course, for the Wolves, they don't have to give up a ton on their active roster, and they get a power forward who almost completes their starting 5, and one that'll really be able to help them on the defensive end of things. So I really like this one, and I think it could be a win-win here. The other Pascal Siakam trade that would work for both sides would be to ship him to the Sacramento Kings in exchange for Marvin Bagley and Buddy Hield. Giving the Raptors a young player in Bagley who they could try and change his career trajectory, and Hield who could help them stay as contenders for the playoffs next year. And for the Kings, it finally mix things up and give the De'Aaron Fox a little more star power to work with.
See,
The Pacers also.
This is what I mean by theatrics. They want to trade players to certain teams so it can have this storyline to it. I don't give a fuck if you got the assets and if it's a good offer. Like if I'm the Kings, I'm drafting James Johnson. No, not James Johnson. What's his name? Jalen Johnson. I trade Bagley. Shit, who I trade Bagley for? I'd probably trade him for like some players for the Cavs. I want Jared Allen. Helps a rim protector, good big man defender, and then you just drafted somebody that can run up and down the court. I wouldn't get Pascal.
Squad. And they can do so by trading Miles Turner. Sabonis has been in talks recently, but they need to try and keep him. He's young, he's a growing star, and they have a ton of assets around him to bring in another star one day. So I came up with a few ideas on how step 1, aka Miles Turner trade, could happen. And I'd want to see him go to the Blazers, Celtics, Knicks, Hornets, or Mavs. All these teams could really use an upgrade at center and on defense. And they'd all be okay with his lack of offense because they have other assets on the team to make up for it. And every team here would be able to make a trade happen. They'd have to give up a good amount to the Pacers, but it'd be worth it to bring in a center like Miles, who doesn't fit in on his team anyways. So no specific scenarios, but there's some ideas for potential suitors. Our last trade of the video though involves James Wiseman and the Golden State Warriors. Now, most every Wiseman trade you find includes Andrew Wiggins, but honestly, I don't think they should trade Wiggins. He stepped into that Andre Iguodala role with how much he stepped up on defense, and that's exactly what their starting lineup needs. They don't need to try and trade him away for something better, but Wiseman's just not ready for the playoffs, let alone to be on a championship contending team next year. So
didn't he get injured?
And luckily I found a trade that actually really works. They should trade Wiseman, Damian Lee, and one of their first round picks this year in exchange for Christian Wood. For the Warriors, Wood's older, he's ready to play, and he'd be the perfect center. They'd give up on the possible bright...
Rockets would never do that. They just signed Christian Wood for the low. They just finessed Christian Wood for the bag. You think they're going to give away Christian Wood for Wiseman when they just finessed him?
Future of Wiseman, but Christian's already a bright young player, and this trade would even be good for him because he signed with the Houston Rockets with the intentions of being on a championship or at least a playoff team. He didn't want to go from a terrible Detroit team to an even worse Rockets team. He wants to contend, and for Houston, it's personal problem, good because they get a center who's much younger and fits in much better with the rebuild they desperately need to do, as well as get a draft pick for their future. Wood's talent is just gonna get wasted in Houston, so they might as well trade him. I want to hear what you guys think, though. Which of these trades did you like?
I ain't like none of them shits. I ain't gonna lie. I fought with Austin, but I ain't like none of these shits, bro. I don't like none of this because it was more theatrics than it was anything to me. It wasn't real basketball and why people would fit on teams. It was more storyline bullshit. And I don't like that. But, yeah, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Don't be these people who do all these trades. This trade machine. It's not real, bro. Besides that, man, comment other videos I should watch next. I'll catch y'all boys on the flip.